Think about who you are, what you want to be known for, how you want to make an impact, who you want to impact, and how you want them to be impacted. Like, focus on those deep questions because our personal brand starts with ourselves. And in order to build a personal brand that is powerful, we have to know ourselves first. And I think that, because you get into a situation where you might hire someone and a brand strategist is not a therapist, it's important for you to know yourself first. And it just means to know your motivations, to know what you're good at, to know what you want to be known for, to know who you want to help, and to show up in the places where your people are.
You're listening to the Black to Business Podcast, an educational podcast providing Black entrepreneurs with the tools and resources to start and grow their businesses. We chat with vetted Black entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and business owners as they provide tips and resources to help take your business to the next level. I'm your host, Toni Marshall. Hey there, and welcome to the Black to Business Podcast. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall, and I am so excited that you are here today because we are getting into a topic that can really transform the way that you show up in your business. So we're talking about personal brand messaging. Because let's be real, building a business takes more than just hard work. To truly stand out, you need to communicate your value in a way that really resonates with your audience, no matter what industry you're in. So whether you're just starting out or you're looking to refine your brand as you scale, mastering your message is the key to opening doors and also to creating opportunities. So in today's episode, we are talking with Toni S. Brown, a personal brand strategist, speaker, and consultant who has helped entrepreneurs and executives create powerful, authentic brands. Toni went from a successful corporate career to building her own thriving business, and now she's dedicated to helping others do the same. So she's here to share her FAST method, which is a step-by-step framework that will help you clarify your message, connect with your audience, and establish yourself as a leader in your industry. If you have ever felt unsure about how to position yourself or just how to make your message truly connect with the people who need your services, this episode is exactly what you need. So get ready for some actionable insights and strategies to take your brand to the next level, and let's get into it. Toni, welcome to the Black to Business Podcast. It is a treat to have you on the show, so welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Monique. I am excited to talk all things business and branding, and I'm happy to be here.
I am happy that you're happy to be here, and I am excited to talk with you about branding. And today we're going to talk about mastering brand messaging. So the FAST method for building a powerful personal brand. So before we get into that, I always like to introduce my audience to who I'm speaking with. So if you could share a little bit about who you are, what is it that you do in your business, and how did you get here?
Yes. So I started out with a corporate career. So I worked in corporate America for about 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I had my daughter, I wanted to be home with her more. I was still working in my corporate job. And so I started my business at my corporate job, from the fact that I loved the internet because at that time, 20 years ago, it was MySpace and Black Planet and Friendster and all of those
Yes.
things. And I just love this idea that you can type something where you are and it show up instantly on a computer somewhere else. It was just
Mm-hmm.
fascinating to me. So that, along with me just being like a creative kid and making my Barbie clothes and having like this PB&J stand and lemonade that I would sell to my mom's friends and they would pay me. So like one summer I made $40 from that. So just
Yes.
combining the creativity with the entrepreneurship, it reared its head again after I had my daughter and I wanted to be home for her. So I built my business while I was working in corporate America, and those early days of learning how to be a graphic designer and web designer were hard. But then sometime later, when I moved to a different town, I could no longer work my corporate job because it was so far. So about 10 years ago, I left that corporate role and I have been working my business since then. And so what started as graphic and web design has morphed into brand consultancy, where I work one on one with Black women entrepreneurs and leaders to help them build their personal brand. And the personal brand is something that we package and position so that they can increase their influence, income, and impact.
I love that. And Toni, I'm so excited that you shared your journey because I know a lot of people can relate to starting at corporate job and then transitioning into entrepreneurship. So, diving more into understanding what personal branding is, because this is something we hear about often, but we like to break it down on the Black to Business podcast. So,
Mhm.
if you had to say, what is personal brand messaging and why is it so important for business owners? And we had a lot of early stage entrepreneurs. So, particularly also for those who are in the early stages to think about this.
Mhm. And so we are constantly building ourselves as people.
Mm-hmm.
But when we are in a space where who we are as a person has some type of expertise or talent or skill or something that somebody is paying us for, and we want to monetize that, it's important to package and position those things so that you can start to shape your personal brand. And so, your personal brand is how you want people to view you and what you want to be known for. And so, everything about a person doesn't necessarily mean that is included in their personal brand. And so, for example, I have plants and I love to feed birds and things like that. That's not a part, that's a part of me as a person, but that's not
Mm-hmm.
part of me as a personal brand because nobody's paying me to water plants and feed the birds. So the part of myself that I monetize is connected to building impact for Black women. And so when you're talking about a personal brand message, it's not everything that you say about yourself or every detail about your life. It's those careful stories and narratives that you have packaged and positioned to be able to appeal to an audience that's going to gravitate towards your story, your personality, who you are, so that they can become a part of your community and then you can monetize that.
That is a perfect explanation, and I love that. Most people are thinking, okay, people have personal brands and this personal brand message. So, how do I make sure that I set myself apart from competitors in my industry? What advice would you give around that?
hmm I think that brand strategy and brand messaging is the first step to building a powerful personal brand because how do you know what you're going to say to people? And how do you know if what you're going to say will have the impact that you want it to have? You have to strategize and create those messaging and those messaging pillars of content and that foundation message to even have a basis to speak on. And so I would say that before somebody thinks about a logo or a website or even headshots, that they focus on what they're going to say, who they're going to say it to, and why they're even going to say it.
That's true. And Toni, you've worked with this in this industry for years, so I'm sure you've come across a lot of people who are just starting out. So, with that, what would you say are some of the biggest misconceptions about personal branding that you'd like to debunk?
hmm that personal branding is only for celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not only for celebrities, it's for anybody who has some type of personality, talent, skill, expertise, or background that they want to monetize. People also think that personal branding is about ego. They think it's
Mm-hmm.
about social media following. They think personal branding is all about what you look like. All of those are misconceptions. Your personal brand, they think that once they build their personal brand that they're done. But because we're constantly evolving as people, our personal brand is a journey. And so as we go along on in that personal brand journey, we're taking people along with us or our audience along with us, and we have to constantly shift and shape that narrative to fit who we are as a person to continue to appeal to the audience that we currently have and to attract new people to our audience.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's solid advice. Like personal brand is a journey because oftentimes in those early stages, you're like married to this idea or this
hmm
strategy. But I love that you've said that it's a journey. And of course, this is the Black to Business podcast. So, what are some of the common mistakes that you see Black entrepreneurs make when they are defining their personal brand or our personal brands?
Yeah, so and I'm going to speak for myself.
Okay.
And I learned early on that we make products and services because it's something that we see that's a lack in the market and we want to fill it. And so when I was building, I did not know I was building my personal brand. I just
Mm-hmm.
knew that I wanted to get from behind my business and I wanted to be myself. I wanted to come out as the person and be, it's no longer me, the business owner. Now it's me as the person. And I think that one of the early stage challenges or just errors is that people think that they have to be so tied to their business. They think that, the services are going to speak for them, and your services speak for you to a point. But after that, people are going to say, well, who's behind the services? Who is this person? They want to get to know you. And so it is important that we step away from our businesses and actually show up as the person. I was looking at a video the other day and it was talking about the numbers of followers between big companies and the owners. So you have, like the CEO of Target has more followers than Target itself. The
Oh
CEO
wow.
of Amazon has more followers than Amazon itself. And so, even though for me personally, I have more personal followers than I do on my business, that's because people are attracted to people. The other one of the major misconceptions that I see or errors is that when people think that a visual representation and branding is synonymous, but it's not. Your brand operates separately from your visuals. You have to have a foundation to stand on before you even talk about visuals. And so, someone said, I remember a long time ago, I got a request, and someone said, "I want to I want to rebrand. Can you look at my social media?" And
Mm-hmm.
I looked at the social media and I said, well, you don't have a brand. And there was a disconnect because she thought that visuals were her brand. That's just part of your brand. And so your logo isn't your brand, your website isn't your brand, your photos aren't your brand, your videos aren't your brand. They contribute to it, but that's
Mm-hmm.
not what it is. When you're talking about personal branding, you are the personal brand. So everything that you put in with that becomes a part of your brand. They become a part of that bigger brand picture.
Hmm. I love how you broke that down. And I also love one of the things that you have is the fast method for build. We're talking about like even for building a powerful personal brand. So can you give us an overview of your fast method and how it simplifies the branding process for beginners?
hmm And so, brand strategy is a huge component to branding that's broken up into a lot of different pieces. When I was learning brand strategy, I wanted to focus on brand messaging. Some people focus on brand promise, some people focus on vision and things like that. But I wanted to focus on messaging because I found that when I looked at websites and even my own, it's too many words. And
Mm-hmm.
people, they don't have time to read a bunch of words. So brand messaging was important to me because I wanted to help people create concise messaging around this fast method that I have. So the F in fast stands for foundation. And so your foundation messages has to do with your narratives, your vision, your mission. And then the A stands for audience. Who are you talking to? What are their pain points? What do they really want? What are the solutions that only you can provide? And then for strategies is broken up into three major goals. And how are you going to use your message to attract people to your brand? That's what those strategies are around. You have big goals, and then under those big goals, you have how are you going to use your message to reach those big goals? And then the last is the T. So the T stands for thought leadership. Part of building your personal brand is that you start developing a voice. You start using your voice. You start putting yourself out there as a thought leader. And I know that leader and thought leader are very intimidating terms, but just think of it. You are somebody that has something to say. What you're saying is going to attract people. Whatever your field is, whatever your niche is, that's what you're leading in. You have thoughts. So it's not like this. You don't have to be on, TEDx stages and South by Southwest stages and all of that to be a thought leader. You can be a thought leader on your YouTube channel. You can be a thought leader on Instagram. You can be a thought leader in person. And so, when brand messaging, that T for thought leadership talks about what components of marketing are you going to shape so that your thought leadership is heard. So, for example, I just created a white paper. That white paper is part of my thought leadership briefcase, as it were. Your blog posts are part of your thought leadership. And so, in that messaging, we talk about how you're going to use your messaging to create these thought leadership pieces. And so, that's FAST. Now, your brand message grows as you grow, but this is just the foundation of how you're going to talk about what you want to be known for and how you're going to attract your audience with your message.
Love that, and truly breaking it down. So, I also want to talk about identifying and connecting with your audience. So, why is identifying your audience crucial to building a powerful personal brand?
When I started my business, I just wanted to work with any and everybody. I
Mm-hmm.
had customers that were all nationalities, different genders, different ages. I was just happy to be working. I was happy to have
Right.
design clients. But after a while, I noticed that my audience started to shape into who I was. And so it seems that at every stage of my life, my audience has changed. And now I'm in the space where my audience reflects who I am. And it's important that we shape our messaging and our brand to attract our audience, but also kind of let our audience choose us. And with my age range, and with me being black, and with me having the type of experience that I've had, I have recognized and seen a pattern that over the past few years, my clients, they have had very similar backgrounds. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's because they identify in me that I'm somebody that they can who can understand them, who has been where they've been, even though of course we've had different lives. But somebody could be a divorcee who wants to get their groove back, and so they want to dig into their personal brand. Hey, that was me. They
Mm-hmm.
could be a single mom with an adult child, and now they want to focus on their personal brand because their adult children have left. Hey, that's me. And just all different types of things. So I think that they identify themselves in me, and I identify myself in them too. So when you're building an audience, you could go after people that are the complete opposite of you. That could be your audience, somebody that's the complete opposite. But when you're a small business, it's important that you understand and even have lived experience with the people that you want to work with, because how can you serve an audience that you don't know anything about, that you don't even have any type of connection with on a personal level? So I always think
Mm-hmm.
about building audiences based off a need that we want to feel in ourselves, or a need that we wanted to just feel in the world.
Mm-hmm. Certainly agree with that. And you mentioned like the transitions and transformations from your audience and how it changed over time. How can
Uh,
business owners get clarity on who their ideal audience is if they feel unsure or stuck?
mhm. I would think about the type of people that ask them for things, whether they have questions and people come to them. If they're on social and people are asking them questions or sending them DMs, I would look at the demographics of those people and see if there's any patterns. Are they all between a certain age group? Are they all in a certain location? Are they
Mm-hmm.
all women? Are they all men? Are they mothers? Are they pet owners? I would try to find a pattern in the people that interact with them. Now, a lot of us have followers that don't interact. We have ghost followers, or something
Mm-hmm.
along that lines. But I think about sending out a survey, or using Instagram and creating a short poll. Where are you from? What's your age? Why are you here? What do you need? And try to do some slight market research. I would also use LinkedIn as a resource. And so, first of all, if you're building a brand and you're not on LinkedIn, you absolutely need to be on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Um, and actually, don't just collect connections like infinity stones, but actually DM the people that you're connected with. Go down those profiles and look at the profiles and see people that you want to connect with. Send them a DM. Ask them for a call. I'm doing some quick market research. I would love to talk to you for 5 minutes. Do you have 5 minutes? Find 10 people on your LinkedIn profile that fit the type of people that you want to impact or your ideal client and set up calls with them. And then continue to cultivate that relationship. Your audience, like I mentioned before, your audience might choose you. There might be things
Mhm.
that you don't even, or aspects of your audience that you don't even realize exists because you haven't talked to anybody. And for me, I kind of learned that somewhat the hard way. Like, I figured
Mhm.
out that my audience was coming to me for me being a Black woman when one of my clients told me that that's what they look up when they're looking for when they were looking for me. They told me that in person. So, but I found that I relate more to the space of women that I work with now. Of course, I can work with any type of person because I understand humans and
Mhm.
people and how they think, and I have empathy. But my marketing focus, my brand message is tailored towards that specific group of women.
Mhm. Yeah, and I feel like they say, the riches are in the niches.
Mm,
And
mhm.
and also, I want to talk about the PHDS framework. So what is the
Okay.
PHDS framework and how does it help in defining an audience?
Yes. So, and a part of brand messaging is that's that A in the FAST method is audience.
Mhm.
So, the first thing you want to do is understand the pain points of your audience. What are they challenged with every day? What keeps them up at night? What's the first thing that they think about when they wake up? What is bothering them? What pain do they have associated with how you can assist? And so if they have a back pain, but you're not a back doctor, that's not the type of pain I'm talking about. I'm talking
Right.
about the type of pain that's connected to what you do and how you could assist. The H stands for hesitations. Why are they hesitating to work with somebody like you? Why are they hesitating to get this service? What is going on in their life? Where's the hesitancy coming from? The D stands for desires. So, what do they really want out of life? What do they really want in connection with how you can assist them? What is their optimum peak of happiness based around what it is how you can assist them? What do they really want? And then the S stands for the solutions. Are your solutions tailored to address their pain points, hesitations, and desires? What solutions, specific solutions, do you have? What specific solutions can you create to address those PhDs? And PhD, of course, we know it has a doctor designation on it. And I feel like when you're a brand strategist, that you're diagnosing problems, you're prescribing solutions, you are trying to see, where the break is. So we're kind of like doctors, not, like brand doctors, as it were, trying to
Mhm.
diagnose our audience's problems so that we can create the right solutions.
Mm. I love that. See, you always have these great frameworks. Now, what this is so off topic a little bit, but what inspired you to create these frameworks and how do you feel like they resonate?
I don't know. I think that when I was going through brand strategy and
Mhm.
I learned brand strategy from this group, one of the things that they talked about was processes. Like, have your own processes. Come up with your proprietary IP that you use for things. And
Mhm.
I have a knack for names, for naming events, titles. My sister always tells me that I have a knack for naming things. And I just think outside of the box. And I love acronyms. I love words that stands for other things.
Mm.
That's kind of it's kind of me geeking out,
Yeah,
geeking
it's
out the English
good.
and communication.
Yeah, I love that. Because it makes
Yes.
things so simple, and I just love that. Like, I'm like, okay, I can remember this. It's easier to remember too.
Exactly. So that's kind of what I think of. And then the patterns just kind of reveal themselves. I'm like, oh, this stands for PhD. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
it just kind of comes about like that.
That's so amazing. And Tony, so one of the things you spoke about is how you were able to get more specific on who your audience is. So sometimes in those cases, you might have audiences within audiences. So how can entrepreneurs adapt their messaging for different audience segments without diluting their brand?
So I think that's having a core message
Mm-hmm.
still is the key. Because, and the other thing is, just because you have a core message doesn't mean that you can't talk about other things. You can talk about other things. You can create different marketing campaigns. So right now, I'm going to be developing a marketing campaign that's for a slightly younger demographic, and that's
Mm-hmm.
okay because my brand message is still the same. The reason why I'm creating it is not necessarily to attract a younger demographic. It just so happens that this campaign and what it is that I'm marketing, I know that it's going to be for younger people, and so I'll use them in my ads, and I'll use my age group too. I'll use 40 and over age group as models and different things like that. But I don't think that you have to get away from your main brand message just because you have a market segment. I think that if you there it's okay that if you do for you to do offshoots within your audience, but that it still relates to your bigger audience. And so I'm not going to go from super serving black women to all of a sudden start super serving Asian women. It just is the connection is that they're both minorities, but it's just different. It's a totally different demographic.
Mm-hmm.
But if I go from super serving women that are 40 and over and decide that I want to mentor teens in high school or start being a speaker on a college level, then, at HBCUs, then it's still relevant.
Right. Gotcha. That makes sense. Key. So next I want to shift to elevating your brand and taking the next step. So once somebody has clarity on their brand messaging, what are the next steps to scale and amplify their message?
Yes. So LinkedIn is perfect to amplify and scale your message. Posting consistently on LinkedIn, engaging on other people's posts, making comments that are relevant to your field, you write long form. And so, whether it's video or written form, I actually do both and prefer both. It's like
Mm-hmm.
if you have the time or if you can hire somebody to serve as that person for you, as your, somebody who's writing for you or a video editor or something like that, I would definitely use those platforms. Applying to be a speaker at different spaces, whether you're getting paid or not, all of them are opportunities. There are people who are professional speaking and they get paid, and that's fantastic. A lot of us, and even me, you still have to start somewhere. So going to maybe like your local chambers or local nonprofits or even co-working spaces, developing your own events that you can speak at locally will help you to amplify your message. Going on lives, partnering with other people, collaborations, sharing
Mm-hmm.
audiences will help you to amplify your message as well. And of course, those traditional methods like having an engaging website helps. Being active on platforms like threads where you're commenting, not just, funny comments like I definitely do, but making sure that you're using your expertise to, make those comments to amplify your message as well.
Mm-hmm. That is some great advice. And so, one of the things you also spoke about is how you're doing this marketing campaign towards the younger generation. And I think this is a great segue into my next question on how can entrepreneurs ensure that their personal brand remains consistent as they grow or pivot in their businesses?
Having a foundation that you always refer back to, it's like asking yourself,
Mm-hmm.
what do I want to say? What do I want to be known for? Who am I talking to? And the answer can expand, but it should never deviate from the beginning because and again, your audience will find you. So I think that sometimes people feel like they're bored with their message. Well, I'm saying the same thing 1,000 times. I keep saying it over and over and over again, but that's the point. You have to, because the people that saw you on day one, they're not the same people that seen you on day 100. So repetition is key, and so you don't necessarily have to change your message. You just have to double down on it and get deeper. For example, I'm talking about specific clients and results, turning it into a case study. That's a way that you can use your messaging to talk about the impact that you had. You move from talking about pain points, hesitations, desires, and solutions and getting into the results. So that's still part of your brand message. Start talking about the results because it's PhDSR, See, the R is the end. That's the part that we kind of leave off is the results. What results
Mm-hmm.
are we getting as a result of our message? What results are our clients getting as a result of working with us? So all of those type of things, they're relative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when I think of the things that we've discussed thus far, and even one of the things that you mentioned earlier is, for example, people connecting with the people behind the brands and how the CEOs' followings were much larger than the brands. What advice would you give for entrepreneurs or business owners who feel intimidated by the thought of just putting themselves out there?
Hmm. It is intimidating. I mean, first acknowledge that it is intimidating, and that's okay if you're nervous. I'm going to speak for myself. I contemplated, and I didn't even know what it was called. And I would just always tell my sister, I want to come from behind my business. I'm nervous. And I did that for years. But one of the things that I kept in mind is either way, it's going to come out. If you're somebody who wants to impact people and make a difference, even if it's on a small scale, you're going to have to come from behind your computer, your social media, your website, your business to really impact. You can't impact anybody when you're scared to show up. They don't even know who you are. So I think my fear of not making an impact outweighed my fear of not showing up because I knew that I had a story that people would benefit from. That somebody else, even if it was one person, somebody else was a divorced mother of one who finally got out of a bad marriage and now it's all about her. I can't be the only person. And I was not the only person. And
Mm-hmm.
so that realization, it just that's one of the things that keeps me showing up. And I just always say, I'm going to do me. Who going to check me, boo? Nobody.
Right. Nobody.
Nobody is. And the things that we're afraid of, the people that are waiting for us to show up, they don't care. They don't care. All they care about, are you authentic and can you help them? That's all they care about. They don't care if your hair isn't done that day, or if you don't show up without makeup, or if that certain shade of blue on your brand mood board is not the perfect shade, or if they don't care. They don't
Mm-hmm.
care.
Yeah. See, that was a breakthrough. That is a breakthrough message for someone listening. And yes, I agree. And I can definitely relate to that. And
Hmm.
and so, Tony, this has been phenomenal. This has been such an action-packed conversation. And I do want to ask, is there any final actionable advice for listeners looking to take those immediate steps towards improving their personal brand messaging?
Well, create one.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing, is to create one. Think about who you are, what you want to be known for, how you want to make an impact, who you want to impact, and how you want them to be impacted. Like, focus on those deep questions because our personal brand starts with ourselves. And in order to build a personal brand that is powerful, we have to know ourselves first. And I think that, because you get into a situation where you might hire someone and a brand strategist is not a therapist, it's important for you to know yourself first. And it just means to know your motivations, to know what you're good at, to know what you want to be known for, to know who you want to help, and to show up in the places where your people are. If your people are not on TikTok, and I'm speaking for myself, if your people are not on TikTok, then why are you scrolling on TikTok for 6 hours?
Mm-hmm.
You have to show up where your people are and just start with one platform.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be pressured to be on all the things because then you're going to be too overwhelmed and not show up at all.
Yes, that is some good advice. That is true. Just choose one, simplify. And
Yes.
yeah. And so, Tony, now I want to shift into some of the work, talk more about the work that you were doing and some continued support. So, we did go over a little bit in the beginning. I do want to know more about how you typically work with entrepreneurs to help them master their personal brand messaging, specific services, or resources that you offer.
So I facilitate brand strategy And that means that I have brand strategy sessions with my clients, and then I write their brand strategy and messaging from it. And so it's not theory. I'm not giving them tips and tricks. I'm actually writing it out. So they can take the strategy and the messaging and put it straight to use on their website or in their social media and build out their message. So brand strategy and messaging is usually the first way that I work with my clients. We also work on the visual aspect of the brand with brand identity. We have a creative production day. And so for an entire day, we do photography and video for them. They also get personal styling and makeup. And we just have a good time that day.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, of course, is the website design. So all of the messaging and the visuals that we have worked on up until then, they go on the website, of course, in a way that makes sense in a clean and modern layout. And then I work with my clients after that with brand management and brand reputation. So some of my clients have events, they have online stores, they are trying to qualify to be on different stages. And so I help them through that to make sure that their brand is still on brand as they continue to reach out and grow and scale their initiatives.
Mm-hmm. That is so awesome. It's the total package.
Yes,
And
it
I
is.
like that because it's done for you services. And
Hmm.
what would you say are the benefits of this as opposed to someone trying to do it themselves and figure it all out on their own?
Oh my,
Yeah.
it's hard. If you want to get it right the first time and not have to be frustrated and stressed out and wasting money, time and energy, and if you want to supercharge your personal brand and stop playing it small or afraid, it's important that you work with a brand strategist. They're going to give you the plan, the strategy, and the confidence to see yourself as you want to be seen. So if you want to be a speaker and speak on different stages and things like that, a brand strategist is going to help you to position yourself to do that. DIY is frustrating. And even for me, I'm developing some DIY resources because I understand that everybody is not it's a couple of things. Some people want to work through their own brand. They want to understand it for themselves. So I
Mm-hmm.
have resources for people that want to understand it for themselves. I have resources for people who might not have the investment just yet, but they still want to do something. So it's not all about making money, of course. It's about making an impact. So I want to meet people where they are. But if you are somebody that is ready for a process like this and you're ready to just supercharge your brand, then that's the benefit. You don't have to waste money, time, energy, be frustrated, stressed out, and having it take longer than it would, and you missing out on opportunities because your brand isn't ready. So that's one of the major benefits of working with someone is that you will be ready.
Mm-hmm. I certainly agree. And Toni, where can listeners learn more about the services that you offer? And also, is it they go to the website and they sign up? Like, what's the process like?
Hmm. My website is brandcoachtony.com, and there's a contact page where they can fill out the details and then schedule a clarity call with me. All of the details are on my website. I have my online store. I have examples of the work that I've done for my clients. I have a space for speaking. So everything is really at brandcoachtony.com. And then on Instagram, I'm also Brand Coach Tony as well.
Got it. And we'll definitely be sure to link those things.
Thank
And you're welcome. And before we hop off, I would love to know throughout this journey of entrepreneurship and just thinking back to when you first started, what has been the best risk that you've taken?
I think the best risk is just embodying my own personal brand. I think igniting my own personal brand was the best risk
Mm-hmm.
because I don't have to operate separate from who I am. I'm just always myself operating in the space of myself everywhere I go. And so, for example, my sister and I, we went to several conferences and retreats last year, and just introducing myself as myself and just telling people what I do and who I work with as opposed to Yes, I have a brand agency. Yes, we do this. Yes, we do that. It's cool. But when you're meeting people in person, they're connecting with you as a person. They're not connecting with your business. They're connecting with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think just having space to show up as myself unapologetically and transparently has been the biggest risk because I don't have to hide behind anything. And it's just afforded me opportunities to be able to do things that I wouldn't be able to do.
Mm-hmm. That is so powerful, and it definitely resonate with just being an entrepreneur and that freedom.
Hmm.
And you've been in the game for years, and for someone listening, they may have just gotten started. So, what advice would you give to someone who's in their first year of business?
That a bad day doesn't define your business. You can have a bad day, you can have a bad month, you can have zero money months, but that does not mean that you have failed or that this idea that you have is not going to work. It takes a while to get trajectory for your business. And, social media has people thinking that somebody can show up one day and the next day they're a millionaire. But what you don't know is that people are working hard behind the scenes for years before they pop off online or before they start making money. And so I would say don't let a bad day, a bad month, even a bad year define you and you thinking that you have a bad idea, a bad life, or you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that. It's just a moment in time and it will pass.
Mm-hmm. That is straight facts. Definitely agree. Agree, agree. Keep going. Yes.
Yes,
And
exactly.
and finally, what does it mean to you to be Black in business?
It means that it's so many, it means a lot of different things actually. It means that for me
Mm-hmm.
that whenever I show up in a space, I'm it. Um, Setting culture, trends, everything, being a black in business, but being a black woman in business, it just means to me that I'm a trendsetter. Even when you're not trying to be just being so flavorful, that's just what you are. And it moves me to just, I mean, I'm not going to deviate from it anyway because I'm always going to be black, but to show up even more of myself. Like there's no limit to what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
There's, I don't think there's any limit to what I can do. That's within, of course, my definition of success. But it just encourages me to show up and be a positive force and to give people space to just be who they are too. They don't have to be black or what, they just be yourself. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what being black in business mean is just to be yourself. Like, don't try to copy other people. Don't compete with other people. Don't have this, crab in a barrel mentality that a lot of people and um, spaces that people try to put on us, because that's not necessarily the case. We can come together. We can build. We can collaborate. We can get a coin. We can do a lot of things together. So I think just being a person that embodies that. That's what being black in business means to me.
Yes. See, I knew you was gonna have a powerful answer when you took that long pause. I was like, yeah, this this is one of my favorite questions, and I felt everything you were saying. So yeah, the flavor.
Good.
Yes. Toni, this has been such a beautiful conversation. So many insights, so many takeaways that we can get into action today. And I love that. And I just appreciate you and the work that you are doing. And thank you so much for sharing and being on the Black to Business podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's definitely been a great conversation.
I just love how Toni didn't just explain personal branding. She made it real, actionable, and something that every entrepreneur can start building right now, today. So she took what can feel like an overwhelming process and really broke it down into steps that are both practical and empowering. So we love that. And this wasn't just about branding. That's what I really love about the conversation. It was about stepping into your purpose and crafting a message that truly resonates. And one of the many points that stood out was when Toni reminded us that a personal brand isn't about ego or flashy visuals. It's about how you show up for the people you are meant to serve. She also challenged us to separate the you that exists in your everyday life from the you that represents your business. And that distinction is so important for creating a brand that's both authentic and professional. And we also dove into the PHDS framework, where Toni showed us how understanding your audience's pain points, hesitations, and desires can transform how you connect with them. And I really loved her insights about how your audience often mirrors your own journey. And what a powerful way to approach connection and also service. And let's not forget her reminder that branding is a journey. It evolves as you evolve, and staying true to your foundation will help you stay consistent even as you grow. So thank you so much for being a part of the Black to Business family. It is conversations like these that fuel our growth as entrepreneurs and as a community. So for all the resources that Toni mentioned, including how to connect with her and apply the FAST method to your brand, visit blacktobusiness.com/235. And join us next week for another amazing episode. But until then, keep building boldly and keep pushing the culture forward. Later.